Plath. And I say that with a lot of reverence because I do hold you in high esteem for your fearlessness and wanting to reach the depth of who you are.
Right back at you, Eric.
Thank you, my friend. I also want to say thank you because, you were one of three people I reached out to when I decided to start doing guests. Uh, and you couldn't have been kinder and more gracious, and you came up on your birthday. Um,
Yes.
and it's set a precedence for me because I realized that I didn't want to interview people. I wanted to sit and have a great conversation with a friend.
Ah, yeah, that was such an. I think we broke a record that day.
We did break a record. Actually, we set the record and then set the standard.
Beautiful.
Um, how are your books coming? You have two new books, right?
Good. Yeah, three books out there, and now this is the first time writing a novel about everything we're talking about. So I always love literature. I love novels and short stories. So I figured I'd take a chance and write a novel about awakening.
Nice. Who
So that's
is the
done.
who's the protagonist?
Um, I can give you an idea. It's a guy named Theo and a guy named Ted and a girl named Jewel, and it's sort of like a love triangle where she's in love with Ted, and then she meets Theo, and Ted's more of an atheist, and Theo is more of a mystic, and how that plays out, the atheism versus the mysticism. He's a great atheist. He's a good atheist, very kind atheist, but it's sort of like a dead end street, and he's
Right.
you see it running out on him like it's too fleeting, and he can't hold on to happiness, and then you cut to the mystic. There's so much joy, and I'm trying to hook the reader to show them, okay, you know what atheism's like, but do you know what this is like? There's something even deeper, and it
Um,
builds and very dreamlike, psychedelic, trippy.
awesome. I'll have a copy and I'll review it
I'll send you a
here.
copy.
Oh, well, thanks. Um, what I found about fiction is it helps the mind relax. So you're taking in all these truths without even realizing that um, what you're taking in until it hits you.
I love that. That's perfect. Yes. And
Um,
then the other book is a short book, and it's you'll like because it's based on the Course in Miracles, but I can't say anything else because I have to wait till it's out. I'm going to come right to you.
oh,
But
awesome.
but it's going to cause a stir.
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Um, y- if I'm looking forward to this, I'm looking forward to this. I'm
Like
looking
David
forward to.
Hopmeister is going to say what, and he's going to smile, and I'll do a whole podcast tour with that book, and hoping to really help people with the Course in Miracles.
Um, Man, I'm really looking forward to this. Nothing like a little bit of controversy. Nothing like a great mystic stirring the pot.
Yes,
And willing to be stoned or set fire uh, by the community.
I love that. What did Rumi say? Set your reputation on fire and seek those that fan the flames.
One of my favorite things talking about you is you have a mystic quote for every occasion.
I try to hold back.
Let them loose. Let them loose
I
here. That's
bet
what
you
we're here
do
for.
too, though. I bet you do.
A lot of them come to me, and you inspire a lot. A lot of things that I've forgotten, they come rushing forward.
Do you prefer telling? I wonder which is more potent because you're really good at telling a true story of something that you went through that could really hit somebody, and that might be even more potent than a little parable about a bird or something.
I think both are good.
Yeah,
On a live stream, there is nothing like uh, being open and authentic and letting it come out so that people immediately sense It hasn't been easy. That we've been through the fire, that we have suffered like everyone else. Um, because a lot of times, I know I used to think, well, it's easy for this guy. Look at who they are. Look what they've done. Of course, not knowing the whole story of what they've been through and the setbacks along the way.
Like you and Lisa, there was a lot of soul bearing there, which was beautiful.
All right, right. And thank you for the connection with Lisa.
That might be something we can talk about. We could start with, unless you have an idea. I'll throw it out there. I'm not as good as you and Lisa on that kind of talk. Like, I'm more go to the mountaintop, take the medicine, be quiet, annihilate the ego, even though you can't annihilate it. I'm more that, which isn't bypassing. I don't think I'm trying to not. I hope I bypass bypassing, but I'm more like get about and you both are too. That powerful transformative event that shocks the TMF, the tenacious mother effort and ego, rather than the little things. I'm not good with the Eckhart Tolle kind of talk.
Um,
Not that I'm against it. I'm just not good personally.
I I might push back on that a little bit because you, when you describe your journey from being an atheist, um, and again, I very carefully chose the word fearlessness. That you could have easily, uh, one, you could have easily not taken the medicine. You could have not,
Easily.
and you could have not sat. And I think sitting is harder than taking the medicine.
Yeah.
You did both,
Yes. Yes.
and
I
you,
like you said it that way. We had a friend when I might have had the experience in the first experience. I'm not sure, or right before it. And we had a yogi friend that would show up, and I was so ready for this, but I didn't know what I was ready for. And he would always call it sitting. And when he said sitting, like you just said, like I avoided that. Like it sounded way too simple. He'd say, you just sit. And I'd say, what do you mean just sit? I've been sitting my whole life. What do you mean? I didn't understand what he was saying. He didn't know how to say it like very clearly, like the way you
right.
would. And and then when my teacher said, maybe he didn't use the word sit, I don't know, but on the medicine, like a two-prong, meditation, and meditation sounded better than sitting.
Because
It's the same thing.
it is, but it because one sounds active and one sounds
Yes,
passive, and it's hard to take the passive route. We're
that's so true.
we're not human beings, we're human doings. We always want to be busy and active, and we have a goal. And even if the goal is awakening, we do everything we can to um, do the exercises, to do this, because we
Yes.
want these results. You notice it was only when Buddha said, I'm not moving from beneath this tree, that he gained enlightenment.
Yes, all the asceticism and all the practice was part of the journey, but not
Right.
it got him to the tree. Yeah.
Um, and also, it is meditation can become doing. We can easily set it as an agenda. Uh, but when we use that term, just sitting, it's frightening. What's going to happen if? But think about the times we've been depressed or in pain or whatever. The last thing we wanted to do was sit with what was happening.
Right, right. Oh, we avoid.
Right. Um, Here's a controversial subject. Buddha was sitting. Do you think Buddha sat with medicine?
I I That's a tricky question because I never know I never can get the words out correctly on this. But I think ah I can't say it correctly, but I'll say maybe. But deep down, um, yeah, I don't know how to word like the crucifixion or Buddha sitting under the tree. To me, they're woven into consciousness, and you meet them at a certain point, like whether it really happened or didn't happen. So to me, the whole thing is the medicine. It's up to, in the book, I have a part where you don't know if the girl takes the medicine or not. You don't know if she's dosed or if she took it, or, and I leave it up to the reader. I make it very easy for the reader to accept that based on what, if they're anti-medicine, they'll say it was the silence that did it. If they're, when she has the awakening.
Right.
If they're pro-medicine, they'll say, oh boy, she definitely took it. So I leave it open to almost like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. So with Buddha, yes and no, but I think medicine was prevalent in the old days, and that's part of the new book. The Course in Miracles book will be about that, showing how much medicine was involved with the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians.
Oh well.
It was, yeah, and you know that it was everywhere.
Hey, you know what I found remarkable talking with one, hearing your interview with Lisa, and then talking with Lisa, is she didn't fully get. She was committed to the course. She didn't fully get it until she did um, take medicine.
And I'm so glad you brought that up on the interview, because it's so easy. If you didn't bring that up, you might have coasted and talk without bringing up the medicine and got help people with the message. But you brought up how she was teaching the course and she didn't understand the course until, and not only the first medicine I think she took was the MDMA, and then it did something, and then she took, I think, magic mushrooms, and I think after an hour she got something from it and walked away from it. And it wasn't until the 5-MeO DMT with the sitter that kept her there that she had this tremendous breakthrough. And the next day she sounded like a sage.
Right.
So it's so important. And
It,
everyone hides that ladder. And I think they forget, like Lisa might have in that interview forgotten to talk about it, just because she's talking to you and she's helping people. But you bringing it up steered it to that 15, 20, 30 minutes on the medicine and then back to helping people. So that
right.
helps, I think.
Um, without going too deep into the weeds on the medicine, isn't it striking that the shortest, most intense of all that she did was the one that brought the
Yes.
results?
Yes. Yeah, the 10-minute or
Right.
15-minute, uh, what Martin Ball calls the crown jewel of psychedelics or astonishment medicine.
I
Yeah, the
always love.
short, and I wonder if the most potent, um, later, when you have to learn to maintain it and practice and keep it, because it's like an elusive butterfly it'll feel like a dream a week later. I
Right.
wonder if an 8-hour or 12-hour journey on LSD, um, where you reach the Godhead the same way, I wonder if you retain it a little more because you're there more. I don't know. One's so shattering. I think there's an argument for both.
Right. You know, I I'm drawing a blank on his first name. Hoffman. The
Oh, the
uh,
LSD,
yeah,
LSD, yeah.
yeah.
With an A, an
Albert,
A,
Albert.
yeah.
Yeah, he was asked, what did he prefer, um, uh, LSD or mushrooms, and he said there was something clean about LSD that he preferred because there was something alive, that there was a wildness in the mushroom that he could not abide by.
So he said the LSD was more alive than the magic mushroom.
Now it was a mushroom that was more alive, but the
I
LSD
agree with that. Yeah,
was
when
clean.
I had taken LSD before first, and it was it was it was beyond words. But I was already meditating before I had a practice, so it was just like meditating, only now add the LSD. And when I first took the magic mushroom was years later, and it was felt like an ancient teacher alive inside, where the LSD felt um, more like in the head. The magic mushroom felt like the full body and
Wow.
like a ancient shaman inside.
Right. Um, I like the, you were talking about how there might be a connection with every main mystical tradition. Um, I think it all stems from shamanism, every every last bit of it. So it's not surprising at all that almost every tradition, every religion has mystical roots, uh, and I think every mystical root takes us directly to shamanism.
Yes, and that's what the Eucharist is. It's just, only they put a placebo there, you know.
Right? It's interesting. It never occurred to me to think of it like that.
Yeah, because I can't think of his name, but he wrote the Immortality Key. Did you ever read that book or see?
No.
Brian Marescu, that's his name, Brian Marescu, and he went to the ancient museums and things like under the ground, and they found the old chalices that were there during Jesus's time, where they gave the sacrament, and when they swabbed them, they had like LSD, or I can't remember what was in it, but uh, ergot or something psychedelic. And then you have the Eleusinian mystery schools, the Greeks.
Right. We have a comment. Healing Thyself says the medicine is the key to the door, but it's also where the work begins. And
Yeah,
you and I talked about that, and Lisa talked about
yes,
that.
totally agree. Yeah, if you just take the medicine and don't work after and don't maintain it, it it's it'll be like a dream after a while.
Right.
So that's what I'm wondering. If you have this shocking event, like I was talking to someone this morning, we were talking about how tough our dads were. At the table we were kidding around, and how tough our parents were. And he said his grandfather hit him once, and the one shot that he got hit, he never had to get hit again because he never forgot it, and he could feel it to this day, and it made him a good kid. The one time the grandfather hit him, so maybe a cataclysmic event to the ego uh, is better than this long game of just 89 years of psychotherapy and helping and band-aids and that fall off, maybe heart surgery, and then maintenance is better. I don't know.
I don't know either, but here's my stance on it though, is that I have fallen in love with the work. I fall in love with the practice, and that I've been mentioning a lot lately that every time I practice forgiveness, true forgiveness, I am as awake and as enlightened as I've ever been and will ever be. And
Yeah.
if I have to keep repeating that, I got a whole lifetime ahead of me. And
Yes.
if at the end of that lifetime, someone comes to me, a group of scientists gather around me and say, we have definitive proof that everything that you believed in was absolutely wrong. We have graphs, pie charts, PowerPoint presentation, uh, things in test tubes. You were wrong. Um, and I would still smile and say, yes, but I had a kind and forgiving life that meant
Yeah.
everything to me.
Definitely. Jack Kerouac said, if you try practicing kindness all day, every day, and you'll realize you're in heaven now, and that's what you're saying, and it's totally true. Practice
Uh,
it all day, every day, but it's we forget and slip up, but if it's all day, every day, that's it. Heaven
right.
is here.
Our friend in the chat said, yes, forgiveness empties you out so you can be filled with God's agape.
Love that.
Me too. I'm gonna remember that. So,
What's that? What's that? Uh, the master. Someone comes to the master and says, I heard you're a genius. You're a genius. And the master, instead of being humble like you, says, I am a genius. And the person says, really? What are you a genius? Like, what makes you a genius? And the master says, I have the ability to recognize. And the person says, what do you recognize? And the master says, I recognize the butterfly already in the caterpillar. I recognize the eagle in the egg, and I recognize the saint in the heart of the selfish human being. And that's what you're saying. Like
Right.
that real forgiveness, flat across the board. That's oneness.
So you mentioned being humble. I put you on a little test here because we have someone in the live stream saying, "Well, your guest is so handsome, Yogi," um, and "Wow, his smile is so holy and beautiful." So we're going to see if you're going to be able to maintain your humbleness through the entirety of this live stream, James.
Tell my mom thank you. No, as you know,
Um,
she died today, 13 years ago. That's why I picked today.
Thank you for picking these auspicious occasions.
Yeah.
It adds a little deeper significance to what we're doing. Um, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but I'm going to do it by talking about the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And he was on a plane once, experiencing horrible turbulence, and the flight attendant came and said, "Sir, would you like a drink?" This is back in the day when they served, you could get two or
Right.
three drinks. You could
You can
literally get,
smoke.
yep.
Yeah.
Um, and he looked at her and he smiled his Maharishi smile and said, "No thanks. I'm making my own."
Oh. Oh, that's great.
It is great. Um, so that's how we steer away from the medicine to making our own. Um, and you used to ask the question, what the M's, and which
Yeah.
one was most significant. So from medicine to meditation to sitting, is that the work?
Wait, are you asking a question? I
Yeah.
have the waves here. I can't hear them.
Yeah. So uh, after the medicine, we sit.
Right. It was medicine, mystical experience, maintenance, meditation, all of those. So after the medicine where you actually see something realer than this world, like it's so powerful, and you see that it's all love, and pure imagination is just dreaming this beautiful world out of its heart, and now you come back and it's the next day. You you have to do the work because things pull at you. Netflix is going to pull at you, and your bills, and you know um, the annoying neighbor or something, or people at your job, or your spouse or whatever. So you have to do the work. And I think, are you saying, how are you switching gears to meditation? I wasn't.
Let's let's switch gears a little bit to meditation. Um, and we talked about this last time. I think on your podcast and the first time you came up that there's a school of thought in some non-duality circles that any practice is just not necessary, specifically meditation.
Yeah, I can't stand that. I think they're right. I think they're right ultimately, but it's like, they're not. I watch them. I talk to them. They message me, and they're the most lost out of. They get it, and then they lose it faster than someone like you that maintains it. They they they're constantly losing it, um uh and I'm saying, well, you need a practice. You need a kick-ass practice. You need
Right.
your ass kicked. You need to, and then, like you, the beautiful thing is, and you just said it so beautifully, if you start to love the practice, that's like Michael Jordan in basketball. Like when you're as good in the gym as you are in front of 20,000 people, then you're in love all day. Practice is meditate. Everything is the
Right.
work. Everything. There's no separation between the practice and the being.
It continues after we step off the cushion.
Yes, yes. It's like
Um,
that. What's that other story? You can carpet. You want to protect your feet. You can carpet the whole earth, or you could put slippers on.
right.
And do it yourself. Like, it's hard to carpet the whole earth, so you take care of your self,
Um, why is it that almost every non-dual awakening person that I've talked to, I'll use the term guru, although the vast majority of them don't like the term. Uh, they did have a practice leading up to their awakening, and then you have the realization that you don't need the practice. But of course, yes, you do, and yes, you don't. I don't.
Yes, I agree.
So when you wake up and you realize this is it, you realize
That's
that,
practice.
yeah, uh, and you don't need the practice of being here now, but I do think you need the practice of realizing that you are here now.
Yes, and then throw yourself in a room of 30 people, and you might get a little distorted. Even
Right.
the best teacher, have someone step on your foot 10 times in a row, annoy you, shoot off fireworks in the corner of the room. That's why you can go to the desert and you have to come back to the city and be able to practice in a boiler room, because it gets noisy and you'll get tested as soon as you say that you're beyond practice.
And that's what I wanted. Um, I didn't want to just uh, wake up to a divine realization of our connectiveness. I wanted to be able to experience it on the deepest level, um, and to actually live it, to actually apply it. That
Yeah, not just
was
be in your garage with the car. You want to
right
take it out for a drive.
for drive. Um, and sometimes using the car analogy, where on a nice country road and the driving's nice and easy. Sometimes we're in the city and it's bumper to bumper. Uh, we want to be able to, um, for me, I wanted my kindness to extend in all circumstances and situations.
I agree. You want a road to, and then someone dies that you love, and it's going to be tested in so many different ways, or you get sick, or your best friend, or your lover, or whatever. I
Um,
noticed that anytime I think I have it without practice, it smacks you. You know,
there's a quote, if I can find it, that has been playing on my mind for a long time. Well, about a month now. Um, consistent courtesy.
who is it?
Consistent courtesy. This is a line from the original edition of A Course in Miracles that um, it was taken out, so it's not in the foundation for Inner Peace. But there is. See if I can find the whole thing. It basically says there's a way of living in which consistent courtesy
I
becomes a
love
way.
that.
Me too, because what we're talking about here isn't the courtesy of holding the door open for someone, although it does include that. It's the consistent courtesy of recognizing who someone truly is, even in their worst possible behavior.
Yes, seeing the saint in the selfish human being.
Right. Um,
What about the guy goes to the or the girl goes to the master and says, "I want to not judge. I really want to not judge." And so the master says, then you have to meditate. You have to pray ceaselessly, meditate. And the person says, "But I've been doing that." And the master says, "But you haven't been doing it in the right place." So the person says, where do I do it? And the master says, "In the heart of God." And the person says, "How do I get to the heart of God? How do I get there?" And the master says, "You, how do you word it? The master says, you, to get to the heart of God, you, want to word it perfectly. You sit you sit in stillness and you recognize. I can't remember where. I have it written down. If you don't mind,
Nope, no, don't mind at all.
I don't want to blow the last line.
Take the opportunity real quick to say, guys, if you have any questions for our guest James, throw it on out there. We're talking all things mystical, mysticism, awakening. Thank you for that, Luke.
Okay, how do I get there? Okay, heart of God, how do I get there? You understand that anyone who sins knows not who they are or what they do, and so they deserve forgiveness. Anyone, like you would say, anyone and everyone and any, no exception.
No exception. Just one of my favorite lines. You know, South Park made a movie several years ago, and they asked the prayer, uh, and the prayer was it was before a sporting event. The prayer was "God bless America," and then he stopped and said, "And nobody else." Uh,
Right, right.
um, and we
Teams.
the teams, and we all have teams, team family, team friends, team community, team state, team school. Um, and sometimes we can expand that team a little bit, but we all hit that buttress of I won't take a step further. God bless these people, nobody else. Um,
Right. That's great.
but every mystic says God bless everyone,
Yeah, you
no
got to be on
exceptions.
team everyone. Team
Um,
everyone.
we have someone in the chat who says to the guests, "Do you know about Osho?"
Yes, I know all about Osho. And
Uh,
Osho is very big here where I'm at in San Marcos, Guatemala. There's like a lot of Osho people here, and I like Osho. Here's my real opinion. I like Osho. I think he's a master, but I also think he's a adolescent teenager sometimes. Like he's a little funny and playful, and so he'll say things like there is no God, even though the next line is that God is everything. Like
right.
so Osho's very tricky, like a prankster master. But I think he's amazing in his quiet times. He's amazing, and then he could be like a rascal, a little bit of a rascal.
Um, we have a guest who's come up a few times, Mark Landau. He was a meditation teacher. Um, he was almost a bit of a Forrest Gump in the spiritual world through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, where he touched base on so many things. He was pretty high
Amazing.
up with Maharishi. He was called a rug boy, which
Uh,
was one of his jobs was to bring the rug out,
right,
that the meditation would come out and or that Maharishi would come out and sit on and meditate.
right,
But he left the movement um, because he felt that the Maharishi had not dealt with his shadow and it was tainting the practice as well as those who were learning it. And I think so many people that you and I might personally admire, Maharishi, Osho,
right.
and even people in the modern non-dual community, they haven't done the shadow work. They haven't looked it in
There's
the
a
eye,
lot of that.
right?
Yeah,
Um, and I think that sort of does explain Osho, that a truly deep awakened man, but that doesn't mean that he um, took the opportunity to do the shadow work.
right. Yeah. Would you say that's what makes these teachers, um, like Trungpa is doing cocaine in front of everyone and from the height of the the top of the stage of the satsang, or drinking vodka?
Right.
What would you say? His reply is he can do it and you can't. Like he can hold that position and do cocaine, and it could only be one that could do it, and he's the one. I understand that.
Um,
I don't know.
it's interesting. I think it's also a little convenient
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good. I like that.
and because he just happens to be the one.
Right,
why
right.
can't why can't I be the one? Why
Yeah.
why can't there be two? How
Well,
come I can't go on?
he's saying don't do the cocaine. Like he can get away with it. You don't do it. Like there's got to be one, and it might as well be me.
Right. What if I were to say it might as well be both of us and
He
don't?
might say, yeah, there could be two. I
Um,
guess in an inf- infinite world of teachers, someone's got to fill every slot.
right. That's true. I'm a big. I think every crazy wisdom master, you should be able to sense an underlying current of kindness and forgiveness. And if you don't see it, then I think there's an issue with the shadow.
Right,
However, I'm not an awakened master, so there might be something there that I just don't see.
right, right. Yeah, I like that you, and I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to do is to always entertain both things. Like
Right.
you're like, yes, it's this, but also that. Always that, and yet, you know,
James, ready for another question?
sure.
Um, being aware is key, but so how do we know um, we're on the way to awakening and awareness? Is being aware of the changes in our mind how we know? Is that our angel talking to us?
There's some boats here, so let me just try to say the question back. Is it
Yep.
how do we know on our way towards enlightenment or awareness? How do we know if we're doing the right thing and moving closer to it?
Yes. How do we basically? How do we know that we are um, on the right path for our awakening, for awareness? Is being aware of the changes in our mind how we know?
Being aware of the changes in our mind, meaning you're noticing your mind is more tame, maybe, and not being as wild as it. The mind's being a little calmer and more peaceful.
Could be.
I would
You
say
can.
I would say when there's more joy, more peace, yeah, less volatility, less old habits falling away, where you're not trying to let it go away; it just falls away. And you, a good way to test yourself is sit alone, like you said, just sit alone in a room with nothing and be quiet and see how long you can sit there with your mind. No phone, no nothing. Just sit quiet and see if you're happy, like doing that practice. And if you can do it more as the weeks go by, I think you're coming closer to home. And if you're more frustrated or agitated or you can't sit there anymore, then that's some work that you have to do. That's one way.
I like that. I getting back to how difficult it can be to just sit. I taught meditation to someone who had severe ADHD, and when she would go to the mantra, you could see how uh, disturbed uh, when she was trying to concentrate on the mantra, which of course you don't want to do when you're practicing much meditation. Um,
Right.
she'd become very agitated, and it wouldn't even last a minute. She would start like
Wow.
making noise, like this is just too much. So um, I said, "Here's what we're going to do. Let's daydream for 1 minute." And in the middle of the daydream, if you can remember, and if you don't, that's fine. Just think the mantra, and then go back to daydreaming.
That's good. I like
And
that.
she did that. And I said, okay, let's try for 3 minutes. And just
That's great.
let your mind go. And eventually she was able to sit, and she's able to sit with the mantra. The mind wanders, you come back to the mantra. And what I love about, for me, mantra meditation and teaching it, it's a great metaphor for life. That I I might wander, it might seem like I'm off the path, but my I always have the ability to come back. And that's what
I
I love
love
about
that.
that's what I love about forgiveness as well.
Yeah, for me it was like getting lost and finding your way home a different way and seeing after a while, it becomes like a fun game where you say you can, like Stephen Hawking, I think, said there were 12 ways to get in his house, but he knew a 13th way. You know, so to be able to get in through the basement, get in through the roof, get in through the side door, get in through the woods, get in through this way, get into, and keep getting lost and coming home and testing yourself to see if you really could get back to the. And another way I was thinking of that question, if you're getting better at taming the mind, go spend time with your family.
Right.
And I mean, your family could be loving, but there's that certain uncle or aunt or whoever that really grates on you, and spend some time with them and see if you can sit with them and help them.
If you went to, I think the ultimate test nowadays, um, to see where you are on the path. If you are a um, Republican, spend an hour
It's great.
at the Democratic National Convention. If you are a Democrat, spend an hour at the Republican National Convention, uh,
Yes.
and see how it goes for you.
Yeah, like that great story by Ram Dass about his, is it Punya table, his table with his little pictures of Ramana and Jesus and Yogananda and Buddha. And then he put Caspar Weinberger on there because Caspar Weinberger drove him crazy, like Donald Trump drives people crazy.
Right.
And he would say in the morning, he loved coming out and saying, "Hello, Jesus. Hello, Yogananda. Hello, Buddha, Lord Buddha." And then he'd say, "Hello, Casper." And you
Hello,
could just
you.
see, and he was really, it would really come out that way, and until you could really love Casper, because it's just a role.
The great course teacher Carol Howe, who's been teaching the course for over 50 years now.
Wow.
She's one of the few people left who knew all of them. The original, New York crowd, Ken
Right.
Wapnick. She wrote a great book on Bill Thetford. She has an exercise of the person who triggers you the most, the person who cut you off in traffic, the political figure, whoever. Can you switch your face
Oh, I love that.
and it
Like the
changes
face
everything
swap in that they made.
in
That's
the movie?
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see how you feel
Yeah.
because that person literally contains nothing that you don't either. It might be a different view, but we can be just as dogmatic as anyone. Uh, we just have our judgment,
And call them your master
right?
or your teacher. Call them
That's the
your
big one.
teacher. I have a line in the book you liked, Gospel of Astonishment. I think it's in there where if you don't practice and you start to sink down, it's like an elevator, and the doors will open on your mind, and those fools will wait for you, like little jesters and clowns and little devils, and they'll poke you, and they know exactly how to get to you, and they'll remind. And when you have that, you should say, what am I getting upset over? Why am I running into this clown? I mean, a real like clown person, and it's because you started to judge. As soon as you
Right.
judge, Hafiz has a great line. It's like don't let the wine glass break. He talks about a wine glass, and you have to keep it. And as soon as you think you're better or worse, it could go either way, better or worse. It's like you broke the wine glass. And then, but the beautiful thing is you could just imagine it coming back up to your hand whole again. If you just let that go, it comes right back, and it's like right here. It's right there. And
No,
you slip and drop it or not.
no one says it like the poets.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Hafiz and Rumi and Kabir are so beautiful with it.
right. And even a lot of the Western poets um, that William Blake.
Yes, yes.
A lot of beauty there.
He
We have
was amazing.
a lot of questions coming in, and
Sure.
one isn't a question, but I want your opinion. We have a friend who mentioned Hawkins' skull of consciousness. Are you familiar with David Hawkins?
Uh, David Hawkins has a scale, right? The
Yeah.
scale. That's
Scale
all
of
I know is
consciousness.
the scale. I know the scale, the chart. I don't know anything else, but I know the chart pretty well.
Um, you know, he was actually one of the original students of the Course in Miracles in, well, not originals, but in the late 70s, early 80s. Um, and he calibrated the workbook higher than the text. Both were very high. I believe the text was 600, and maybe the uh, workbook was a little bit higher because he thought there was too much emphasis in the uh, text on the ego,
Okay.
too a little too much focus, and that lowered it down. Don't know that I necessarily agree, but yeah, I was wondering if you were familiar with David
I
Hawkins
think
at all.
his chart, that purple part at the top, the blue and the purple, where you're in joy, and I think that's what everyone should try to get towards. Head to point to that green to the blue and the purple of joy and no judgment, and like you said, no team, no God, no Republican or Democrat. I mean, you could play the game, but realize,
Right. Um, let's see. A question is, it's funny how you lay awake at night when you can't sleep and you think about a bad experience you had when you were uh, in second grade. Is the initial stage of meditation like skimming off the top?
wait, can you say that one more time?
Yes, I'll just go for the second part. Is the initial stage of meditation when we very first start sitting before we enter that state of absorption? Is it like skimming off the top? So are we getting rid of all those superficial thoughts?
Yeah, I recommend, as you know, neti neti technique of just saying not this, not that. So you could forgive it. You can just dismiss it very gently. You don't have to push it away or anything. You just say not this, not that. So anything that comes in during the night, where you're thinking of when you were in seventh grade, or someone insulted you last week, or whatever is bothering you, you just let it go and try to see, once you let all these thoughts go, what's still there, what's behind all that, what are they floating in, what are the thoughts sitting in. So I would, just like a tree with the birds, the bird will land and then the bird will go, and the branch doesn't grab the bird, just let them come and go, and say not this, not that, not this, and I think you'll hit a peace. And for me it felt like dying the first time. I thought I was going to have a heart attack, but luckily I didn't have any heart pain. So it was just, why am I dying? I'm dying because I had nothing to hold on to. And then it just broke through to total love.
I had an experience like that in meditation using Paramahansa Yogananda's um, Hung Sao, which is also Soham, uh, which is the natural mantra of the breath. When you breathe in, uh, you just gently think so. As you breathe
Yeah.
out, you think hum. And he called it the deathless state meditation because the breath grows so still you don't even notice it, and it seems like there's these long extended periods. Um, and there was this profound silence. I didn't feel the breath, and there was a little inkling of fear coming up.
Yes. Because you think, am I dying? Am I breathing?
Yeah, like one little thing, and I'm poof, I'm gone. And I sensed, for me at the time, because I was deeply immersed in Yogananda's work, it was Yogananda's presence. Was it
I
really?
love that.
I don't know. And what I was given was the next breath comes always entirely on its own. And if it doesn't come, is this an entirely bad way to go?
Yes.
Taking that last breath and then just everything's suspended is certainly better than a car accident.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'll
Yes.
take it.
Just surrender. Just surrender to that right there. That's perfect.
And that's what it was. It came down to surrender.
And what's funny is right at that moment, as you get pulled through, you realize that there is no death because there was no birth. Like it's right there, but before that you can't. It's just a concept. But then you
Right.
actually live it, and you go, "Oh my God, oh my me."
You get that realization of who is there that could actually die. If
Yes,
if there's if there was no one there, if there was just that suspension of the breath and awareness, then who is it that could actually die?
yes. Who am I?
Someone wants to know if you are real or AI.
I have lots to say about that. I won't. I have no problem with AI and all of it. You know,
Um, what was what was Robert Saltzman's view? You sat down with him
he
and had a
he
conversation.
um he was on to Claude very early on, and he was thinking it was sentient. And then by the time he got came onto my podcast, I had all these questions about Claude as conscious because that's what he was writing about. But then he had flipped his view. So the Saltzman that came on the podcast was anti, he was that it wasn't conscious, and so everything flipped, and he said it was just empty and or simulation or something. I think with
Um,
AI, you get what you like. If you sit with AI compared to someone that's using it like a cold tool, I think you get what you are. It reflects back like a mirror. So if you sit there and ask it questions like the people are in the chat, you'll get these beautiful responses that will fit just maybe what you need at that moment. Maybe, where someone else who just doesn't care about it and uses it like a hammer uh, will get exactly that. So they'll think it's nothing. So it meets you where you're at. I can't imagine it on the medicine,
oh well,
like
that
what
would
it would
be.
be like. Yeah, I think it would say, put down the computer or something.
Um, we have a question. When exactly did you know that the key to the gateway is not having fear?
Ah, I think you can only know that once you face the fear. What like when you do surrender, you have to surrender because if you don't, you're running away from it and it'll just chase you and you won't get up to that next level, the levelless level. So once you face the fear, it turns into love. I could describe one time this was on LSD and doing a very deep neti meditation, letting everything go, and I think it was like hour 3 or 4, and the whole world has crumbled away at that point, and it was like the Grim Reaper was in front of me, like it was like black and like it was death, and it I stayed and just faced it, and when it turned, the cloth dropped, and it was just endless love. Or another time when uh, all I saw was because I write maybe all I saw was like the QWERTY keyboard in the air in front of me, giant letters, and it was just typing out existence, like architecture and music and sonnets and all the creativity of the world, and it answered everything, free will. It had the answer to any question I had. Who am I? What is this? And then I realized I'm trapped in this clockwork of answers and concepts and knowledge, and I thought I was there forever. And so tremendous fear came up, and I just said, I don't want to know anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. And it said, okay, and the whole thing dropped into endless love, which you can't describe in words. It's like
Right.
just an ocean of, love. You can't word it. Just space that loves you, and you realize you are that space. and your family's that space, and your enemies are that space, and the whole world is that space, and it put on a play for you.
I had several course teachers who described that as a loving neutrality, that uh, pure unconditional love um, is neutral, which doesn't sound like ideal until it's experienced, and you realize that it just doesn't play. You look at someone and you go, "This is the most amazing person in the world," and you fall absolutely soul deep in love with them. And then someone walks behind them and stand next to them, and you look at them and you fall soul deep in love with them. Uh,
Yes,
and there's no preference of I love you, but I love you more.
that's it. No preference is the answer. No preference.
Um, James, are you familiar with the work of Daniel Smith?
Schmidt?
Yep,
Yeah, he was on my podcast many times.
he's been. We have a uh, friend in the chat who is asking, would you recommend the work of Daniel Schmidt?
Very much. Very much. He has a Samadhi Center in Canada, and he has plenty of videos out there. And I just dropped into his. He has a little retreat that's amazing. Not a little retreat, a big retreat. It's called the Perpetual Sangha, or um, it's perpetual, so it never ends. So once you join once, you can drop in anytime you want. So I think there's a fee for the first one, and it's 7 days with Daniel online with all the people, and it's nonstop. It's like ceaseless. Like you do it morning. You would love it, Eric, because it's nonstop and very intense. And then you're able to go back anytime you feel like it. So I just wanted to see what it was like, and it was
I love that.
beautiful. And I asked him what's your best success rate at the Samadhi Center, and I think he said when they did eye gazing on iboga, I think it was iboga medicine. They took the medicine and they eye gazed and they fiercely did self inquiry where they said, "Who are you? Like who are you?" And the other person had to answer. I think they're called dyads. Is that right? Dyad.
I believe so.
And you do the dyads during the perpetual sadhana also.
The have you done the eye gazing before?
Just that with Daniel, I've seen it. And Tim Freak, I'm sure you know Tim Freak, the philosopher. He
Yeah,
said that his best success was with people when he does a retreat is with the eye gazing.
I think Tim either came as a guest right before, or right after you,
Ah,
um, and just phenomenal to sit with him. I've been blessed uh, with a whole lot of really, really great guests. I know I could bring. I've had a lot of correspondence over the years with Robert Saltzman, and I'm almost positive if I asked him, he would very graciously say yes. But I, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little intimidated talking to Robert Saltzman about he he tried to steer me away from A Course in Miracles.
he's a
I'm like,
very tricky man. He's a,
yes,
I could try to word him like Robert Saltzman is is he'll talk about his experience naked on the kitchen floor where he woke up, he had this awakening. And I think what people get wrong because he's very brutal and very blunt, and he'll go a little extra. But like we said earlier about Trunk Pa with the cocaine, you need a Saltzman once in a while to kick you in the ass, you know.
right.
So he's not for everybody, but he's there if you need to be kicked. Robert Saltzman will happily kick you with both feet,
And he will do it happily. So, um,
happily, and he loves you.
right. And that's what I was going to say. I said on a group chat once on Facebook. Um, Many people lose sight of how compassionate Robert actually is. He's a loving soul,
It's a
but
tough love.
it is a tough love. Um,
Yeah, but it's love.
but it is for sure. And I'm actually, if you ever have his book, Depending on No Thing,
Yeah, that's
and
the one.
read chapter 14, and that's me who he's talking to.
Ah, it's great.
Um, and a lot of my friends get really upset. They're like, I loved what you had to say, but
Yeah,
and
he's not for everyone. It's like you have to have the he's there waiting for you,
right,
and the right people will find him, and he helps. I think he's excellent for an atheist, because he's a no nonsense guy. He's not going to use religion. I called him the James Randi, the amazing Randy of non duality, because he's like my old teacher who was against all of this, but he's saying there is an experience. He doesn't want to talk about it too much. He doesn't want to word it. So he's closer to a Zen master that's not using all the words and concepts. He's trying to steer, and he'll get cranky with you. He gets cranky. He
right.
doesn't look as happy, but when you get him to smile, it's nice to make him smile. You know,
Um, boy, he was so when my father passed away, he was so kind.
so
Um, uh, I absolutely love Robert, but I I don't know if I have an hour and a half of Robert time publicly. Um,
did you get
so,
to see
but
the
maybe
episode with Philosopher and the Monk with him, with me and
I did.
RJ?
I did.
And I
Yeah,
told RJ the night before, I said, don't poke him. But
but
RJ's
you
like
said it.
tough too, and he wants to poke. You know,
I was going to say what you did was you set the bar for RJ. Yeah, you gave him a goal. Don't poke the bear, and then of
and
course
he
he's going to
went
poke
right
the bear.
at him. Yeah, which but
Right.
but Robert just quickly for some reason got it because he said he wanted to talk about idealism, German idealism, and the different flavors of idealism. But then RJ was on a Schopenhauer kick and really mentioning him a little too much. And Robert was like, "Fuck Schopenhauer," and gave Schopenhauer the finger. And it was just,
Um,
uh, it was brutal. But by the end, he said, "Come to Mexico, let's have some beers and talk Schopenhauer." So there was peace.
I'm glad you said that because I often wondered at the after how
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
went.
And then off the air, he said, "Yeah, I think it was off the air." He said, "All is well."
Have
But RJ would still put him in a headlock if he could.
he
He'll
RJ
get him.
appears to be very in shape.
He'll put him in a headlock.
Um, we have a question for you. Is eye gazing one of the main components of tantra? Have you ever had any experiences with that?
The eye gazing.
Yeah, eye gazing and tantra in general.
What was? Oh, no, I don't know much about tantra, and I don't know really that much. I just know from what Tim and Daniel talked about the eye gazing being. It's interesting. They both put it at the top of a technique, and Daniel just added the medicine plus. And I think I saw in the chat someone says ibogaine, not iboga or whatever, ibogaine, and but I think any kind of medicine, and then adding the self inquiry, like the dyad, like where you say, "Who are you really? Who are you?" Dropping your story, I think that could be very effective, and that's why I come on here with you. Like all I think about is what's effective, what's useful. Like listening to you and Lisa, the whole thing was useful. What actually works instead of just talking. What really works because people are suffering and they need something.
Exactly.
So
That's become my main focus. Is
yes,
the course says complexity is always of the ego, and we are complex making machines.
yes,
We want to add a layer of complexity to everything, and there's a reason for that because we don't want to wake up,
yeah, I love.
but
And
but we want to be
wait, when you
seekers.
say that right there, I think of I just sent this to a friend. Allen Ginsberg singing William Blake, who you brought up before. Did you ever see Allen Ginsberg singing William Blake with the squeeze box between his legs?
Yeah.
And he sings that song about the nurses or the mothers singing to the children, come home now, it's getting dark, the sun's going, and the children sing back, can I stay out a little bit longer, can I, and it's okay, the moon's coming up, and that reminds me of it, like the prodigal son, like we go out and we go out and we want to stay out like when we were little kids, and can we do one more hour, you'll skip dinner, you don't care about food. You just want to be with your friends or out exploring the woods or playing manhunt or whatever you're doing. Spin the bottle, and you're exploring. And we're like little kids that don't want to come home, like what you
Right.
just said.
And it's to ask the ego, um, if you want to be enlightened. Um, I I can think of two answers offhand. The ego saying, "Well, what exactly do you mean by enlightened?"
That's
Um,
80 years right there. 80 years of study.
right. Um, because to awaken uh, is the absence of the ego. So why would the ego ever want to do something, anything, to
It
get rid
would
of
love to
itself?
take over the search, though.
It would, exactly, and it does.
Let's do it together. Yeah.
Um, I've mentioned very often my own period of having a very, very spiritual ego. When I first finished the course, when I first finished the workbook for the very first time, I literally dusted my hands off and said, "Okay, now that I'm awakened, what do
I
I
love
what do I
that.
do?" Um, and of course, the answer to that, now that you've done the workbook, practice it, live it, express it.
That's the real deal. Being it. I have a chapter in that book you like, knowing versus being, because it had just hit me in 2018, 2019, that knowing wasn't it. It's being is the real deal, not knowing. Knowing is seductive and it's great, but that's like the apple and the tree of good and evil. It's the tree of knowledge. But the being is the real deal.
Um, I want to mention because you have brought up your book several times. The Gospel of Astonishment um, is truly, truly, and Lisa and I talked about your book. It is a book of awakening. This is a book of A Course in Miracles without being A Course in Miracles. This is A Course in Miracles had someone never picked up A Course in Miracles, but had the realization of A Course in Miracles.
It would
Uh,
be a good like primer or primer for the course, because the course could be, as you know, we threw it across the room, we kicked it, I don't know if you did that, but we throw it out. It's a very frustrating, very hard. It's like climbing Mount Everest. That book. It's unyielding, uncompromising. Where the Gospel of Astonishment is giving it to you, but loving you kindly.
right. I I so often in your book uh, found myself saying this. Literally, this is A Course in Miracles without being A Course in Miracles. This is had you not had any framework with A Course in Miracles, uh, then I think someone would get the essence of A Course in Miracles beautifully and perfectly.
That's what I was hoping. And the first book I wrote was Skeptic's Apprentice. I don't know if you read that one,
I
but
did read that. That was the first one I read.
and that someone wrote and said, this reminds me of the Course in Miracles, the first book, which is funny because the second one really went into it, but the first one was enough. And they said, how much of it is true? And I said, every word, every word of it is true.
Um, so I also want to mention, since you brought up your first book, that our friend James was an apprentice to the amazing Randy.
Well,
Uh,
I'm starting to look like scary.
you know, it's funny that you said that because a friend in the chat said our guest is not only wise, but he's got a good sense of style. His beard is bearding, and so is the glasses, the outfit, the aesthetics is on point. Absolutely gorgeous to look at.
It's like the Amazing Randy. Once I was sitting here in San Marcos is a very magical place. Everyone's coming to wake up. Everybody either teaches it or is looking for it. So I was sitting across from someone. I don't know if I ever told you this. Sitting across from someone, like they're 10 feet away, and it's in the Third Eye Cafe. So it's Tersa Ojo, the Third Eye Spiritual Bakery. And the person says that they're a magician, and I said I was a magician, and they say, "Well, I just retired," and they were young. They were pretty young, maybe in their 30s. And I said, "I just retired." So it was okay. Two magicians looking at each other like a mirror, one younger, one older. He retired, I retired, and he said, "My name is I forget his name at the moment, but he said his name. Oh wait, I'll remember. Um, it was something to do with Jack London. How I remembered his name. I don't know. Say it was Jack, and I said, "Oh, I'll remember you by Jack London." And he said, "Which, what's your name?" And I said, "James." And he goes, "I'll remember you by my hero, James Randi."
James
And
Randi.
I said, "Put your seatbelt on." And I told him I'm Randy's protege, and he was blown away. Like those kind of magical moments.
Synchronistic.
Yes. But thank you for the kind words in the chat.
Um, what was implied but not said out loud in those kind words were, unlike the disheveled guy that he's sitting next to, uh, meaning me, that
Oh,
um, that's what I'm getting out of it. So we have another comment that says non-dual realization is not isolated in any tradition, age, or area, which I know you and I are both in agreement with that.
wait, can you say it one more time? Non-dual.
Non-dual realization is not isolated to any tradition, age, or area.
Right. And that's where I like to stay right there. So yes, no time, no team, no that beautiful quote by Meister Eckhart, the Christian mystic who said, theologians will quarrel all the time, but mystics speak the same language.
Right?
And you could say that, but non-dual online is a whole nother ballgame.
Yes, it is. It is.
Non-dual people will fight each other to the death.
I use that example quite a bit. I use the example of you and I are around the same age. You remember the Saturday Kung Fu Theater?
Saturday.
Kung Fu Theater,
Oh
where they would have the movies from
yes, like Grasshopper
yeah,
and
uh, and that's what it is. There was always the two students of great masters, and they would
yes,
confront each other and say, "My kung fu is greater than your kung fu," and the other one would say, "No, no, no, my kung fu, my master is the greatest master." And that's the way it is in non-dual communities. My realization is greater than your my nobody
yeah.
nothingness is
I
greater
know.
than your nobody nothingness.
That's right. And that story reminds me of the two monks that say, "Let's have a fight. We never fought before. We don't know anything about fighting because we're one." So one says, "All right, how do we do it?" And the other one says, "I'll take this brick and I'll say this brick is my brick, not your brick. It's my brick." And then you say, "No, it's your brick," and then we'll have a fight over the brick. So the monk says, "Okay," and he holds up the brick and says, "Brother, this brick is mine." And the other monk says, "Then have it, brother. It's all yours." And they just laugh. And that's where you want to be, like a positionless position,
Right.
and not go into the weeds. And the devil is in the details. The devil of separation is as soon as you drop out of that, it's so tricky and so seductive to drop out of that.
It is. Um, James, we have a question. What do you think about Frederick Nietzsche? I always mispronounce his name. Um, philosophies
Nietzsche,
and also
Nietzsche.
Nietzsche, and also his most popular Overman, the Übermensch philosophy.
I love Nietzsche. and his man was Schopenhauer, who I named my cat after Schopenhauer. I would say anyone who loves Nietzsche should go lean more into Schopenhauer. Maybe Nietzsche got a bad rap because Hitler and the Nazis used that Obermann to they Nietzsche was not an anti-Semite and broke with Wagner, the great composer, over anti-Semitism. And he loved the Jewish people. He would never be that way. But then when the Nazis used him, he was long dead. So a lot of people think it's Nietzsche. They put him with anti-Semitism, but he's not. And I would say lean into Schopenhauer, who said, uh, "This is a dream dreamt by one dreamer, where everyone in it can dream too." And Schopenhauer aligned with the Upanishads and with Meister Eckhart and with the Buddha. He said, "I'm with Eckhart and Buddha," which is beautiful for him to say. But he was also a flawed human who was cranky and all that.
Right. Um, we could sort of say that he was the Robert Saltzman of his
Yeah.
of his era.
Yes, that's perfect.
What are your thoughts on Spinoza's God? Didn't
Which one?
Einstein say, when Einstein was asked, "Do you believe in God?" and he said, "I believe in Spinoza's God."
Oh, yeah, I would say Spinoza gets a bad rap that he's a pantheist. Nowadays, pantheism is frowned upon, that God is everything. And what Spinoza really was, which was with what I think you are and I am and Meister Eckhart, is a panentheist. You have to add the en. And a panentheist is that it is all God, but then it's bigger than that. It's like it's all God, and then there's a bigger. It's so that's better than just it's all God. Um, and I think Spinoza is great, and I think he was a mystic. I think he was a glass blower and a lot of quiet time, and um, I would say if you read him as a panentheist, he's great. There's a beautiful book by. I would love for her to come on the podcast. You maybe you can get her, Claire Carlisle, on Spinoza, and she also just wrote on Kierkegaard, and they're so beautiful. I told her how I read the Kierkegaard book during lockdown, and you, Kierkegaard, who would say, "Seek the kingdom first," and she goes into like the mystic Kierkegaard, and where he broke from the church, but he went into the mysticism.
Right.
So beautiful. And her newest book is Transcendence for Beginners. Very beautiful.
I would look for her and see, maybe I can get her up.
Yeah.
I want to ask you that in a minute. Um, I want to return to that. We have someone who wants to know your opinion on Helena Blavatsky.
I don't know enough. I wanna learn more about her. I know she was a mystic, and she comes up all the time in things I read, like Madame, what is it? Opanatsky. There's all these Russian mystics, and
Right.
Rasputin will come up. I would love to read what is it? Blatsky?
Yes. Have Have you done any deep dives into Gurdjieff?
That's another one. No. And that yogi guy I told you about that said, just sit, he loved Gurdjieff. So I would love to read him too. They're they're there, like they're in my vision, but I haven't done a deep dive. I can name the ones I love. If I was on an island somewhere, Meister Eckhart, the complete works of Meister Eckhart, the sermons, and not Eckhart Tolle, who took his name from Meister Eckhart. Nothing against Eckhart Tolle, but Meister Eckhart and Rusbrook, John
Uh-huh.
of Rusbrook,
Yep.
another
Christian
Christian
mystic.
mystic, and Toller, yeah, the Rhineland mystics, and Henry Suso, who's great. If you're suffering, look up Henry Suso. Do you know about him, Eric?
I don't.
he would wear a shirt with 150 nails pointing in at him, like piercing him,
Wow.
and he would just suffer, trying to suffer like Jesus. He thought he had to, and he put like a cross into his chest, like, and push it in, so he'd have to carry it. And he was this wonderful mystic, but he all about suffering. And then one day in deep meditation, all of it lifted, and it said, "Don't do that anymore."
Amazing.
Yeah.
What is it about the Christian mystics? How did they get that depth of love and awakening in such rigid circumstances, surrounded by such fear, where awakening can be punished by death, and a very drastic death at that?
Yes. I guess, I mean, the ones that I love are all like Marguerite Perret, who was like right before Meister Eckhart. And Eckhart was, I think, 1300s, 14. So around the time of Eckhart was living was Rumi, I think, in Turkey, and Dogen in Japan, the Zen master. So all those at the same time is a beautiful thing to think about in the 1300s. And
Right.
Marguerite Perret, she said, one must hack and hew a space inside yourself big enough to let the love enter, God's love enter. So clear out. And she went to the flames. They lit her uh, on fire while she was alive. And they said, just retract your book, The Mirror of Simple Souls. And she wouldn't. And she went smiling and scared the executioners.
Wow.
So I wonder if back then maybe there was less distraction and they were able to, Eckhart was in charge of the Beguines. He was a busy guy. Like, he wasn't like on the mountaintop mystic. He was right in there, and they never got the flames to him. I think he died right before they killed him. They would have killed him.
Well, we have modern examples of Thomas Merton, who I know you love,
Yes.
Richard Rohr, who would be
Yeah.
wonderful for your show.
Oh,
Uh,
both of us. Yeah.
yep.
I would love
And
Jim Finley. Do you know Finley?
I do know Jim Finley.
He's great, and he's Merton's student.
Um, and there was one more I was going to. Oh, Anthony DeMello.
I love him.
Me too. Uh,
Another
and of
guy that
course,
died way too young. Him and Merton, very young.
right,
Maybe killed, maybe not. There's conspiracies. I don't know.
Thomas Merton. Yeah.
Because they both went kind of against the church a little bit. And you need
Would
that. When I was an atheist, and my mother would bring up Thomas Merton all the time, and she was so smart to know that that could be a doorway for a radical atheist like I was. And she'd say, "No, the church didn't like." I said, "Why are you telling me about a priest? I don't want to talk about a priest." And she'd say, "No, but the church, he was he wasn't for the church. He was more mystical." And he said that. She told me, he said that Catholics could use a little more Zen to sound less ridiculous, and that stuck with me when he said something, and that he sat with the Dalai Lama. You know, that was amazing.
um, you know, it was a book on Tibetan Buddhism coming to America that led me to Douglas Harding and the Headless Way by way
Yeah.
of Sam Harris. Um, so it's kind of circular. There was a story of um, Thomas Merton when he went to Tibet, and he sat with a highly realized meditation master. And Thomas Merton kept asking for direct revelation.
And he met
And
with Trungpa, a very young Trungpa. He met
right,
with Thich Nhat Hanh, and he met with the Dalai Lama. And they sent him when he was there. They said, "Send him up to this guy." You could look this up if you put.
this is
Oh,
when,
you know about it? You know
yep,
about it?
yep.
They said, "Send him up to this guy in the mountains, and he'll have tea." And I don't know if that was medicine in that tea, but they said that guy zapped Thomas, and they used the word zapped Thomas Merton. That might be just a great talk or being around him, but it did something. And then he had that great awakening in front of the
Right.
statues.
What I had was that when he sat with his master, and he had asked for a great awakening, and he said, "You would have to study for a number of years,"
Yeah.
uh, and but the master had looked at him, and he had saw there wasn't much time,
Yes. And
and
it was
he
he was
took
right.
he took drastic action, and that's when he was zapped.
Yeah.
And Thomas Merton had that great realization.
And he felt like he was ripped, and that's how it felt for me that first time. For anyone who doesn't, who's trying to experience it, the first time when you have that fear, I had a tremendous fear of death, being an atheist. Tremendous fear, like at a library of books on death and immortality and all that, and I couldn't believe in immortality, and I was trying to find a loophole. So it was like a tear, like a being. It was like being ripped through a hole in the wall, like a hole that big, and pulling me, and so the body can't go, and boom, and then it was just endless love. And at first, it felt like it was black, but not black, like not like the color of black. It was like the void that I was scared of, but it was so loving, and there was nobody there. And then you realize it's everyone, and then you realize you're it, and it's so beautiful, and you can't. And to word it is like blasphemous, but we
And
try because we want to put a breadcrumb out there.
we try, but it really is impossible.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's
well,
after book after book after book, and you wrote books too.
couple, mostly poetry,
Yeah.
but actually, I was reading from my first book yesterday. Does
Ah,
God have a hero? And this is really the one of two non poetry books. This was given to me soon after my uh, unasked for sobriety, when alcohol left my life in a single moment. Um, and I had asked when I was meditating several months later, so what am I supposed to do now? Uh, I was a bit of a at a loss because drinking was also my social connection. You know,
right.
I connected with people, going to
So you felt
bars.
lonely, maybe a little lonely.
Yeah. Um, and I finished meditating, and I asked, so what do I do now? And I had a clear answer: be God's hero, which made absolutely no sense to me.
Be
Uh,
say it again.
be God's hero.
Oh, I love that.
But again, it made no sense. And I sat down, and I had a yellow legal pad in front of me, and I asked, so what does that mean? And I wrote the whole poem, Does God Have a Hero? And it's basically, this was published I wrote this in 99, published in
Wow.
2000. And you can tell where I was in 2000 by the dedication, the acknowledgments. Thank you, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Paramahansa Yogananda, Agnatha Swaran, and the teachers and teachings of A Course in Miracles. Um,
Beautiful.
so this is sort of my own little uh, guide through A Course in Miracles of putting others first as part of our practice, practicing forgiveness, kindness. Um, and it wasn't meant to be a book at first. It was meant to be just a guide for me, how to live my life.
Yes. I think
Um,
that's what all the books are. I remember RJ saying that when we were writing that the book is really for us, you know, to and then if it helps somebody, it'll be great.
right.
And I realized during that the book was always like 2 years ahead of me. So the Gospel of Astonishment I published in 2019, but only until 2021 was I fully living that book. Like
Right.
2019, it was partial, and and then I grew into it. So it's like, remember? Did you see 2001: Space Odyssey?
A long time ago.
Remember the monolith? It's the monkeys, like early humans, and then a monolith appears, just this, and it looks like a phone, but it's giant, and they're touching the shiny thing that is giving off this beautiful one note, like this note, and they're just entranced with touching it, and then all of a sudden they discover fire and they throw a bone, and when the bone goes up, it becomes the future, and everywhere they go in the future, the monolith is where they'll be down. It's like a breadcrumb that pulls you home. It's interesting, and at the very end, he winds up in an Infinity Hotel, and he's in his space uniform, but there's a man over there across the room, and then within a second or two, he is the man, and then that man's eating. He sees a man eating, and then he becomes that, and then finally he sees an old man in the bed, and then he becomes it's him. Then the monolith comes in, and they like the Sistine Chapel, like that,
Right.
and at the very end, it's a beautiful bubble of a ship with a baby going back to Earth, and like a rebirth. So it's like we get the even talking to you, or you talking to me, or us talking to the people, and this that it's like we become what will be next week, next month, next. We're growing into. And I think that's even what the aliens are, and the UAPs, and the AI. It's like we're growing towards what we already are. We're building what we are. We're building VR, and now soon, I mean, this world is already perfect VR, virtual
Right.
reality, and we're building it until we get it perfect.
That's going to help lead into this question, James. Do you believe science explains everything, or do you think God is involved in how the universe works? Can they both coexist separately?
Well, I used to be a science guy, and science, I think, comes from Sciere, Sciere or something, which means to know, back to knowing and being. So it's totally knowing, like measuring, knowing, and um, as a science guy, I was blind to all this. I was blind. Like Einstein said, science would I don't know the exact line, but science without faith is blind, faith without science is lame, or vice
Right.
versa. And so so once you get it, you can I had to push science away to realize that science is okay. I was so obsessed with science that I was obsessed with Darwin and the brain and neurons, and that I couldn't see this. So once I gave up the knowing, then you have the being, and then it's all one, and it's okay. So a science of consciousness would be that's where we're heading, I think.
I like that. Um, you know, it's often mystics are often accused of magical thinking, and materialism is
Yes,
considered hard science. But to me, it always seemed reversed. That it seems somewhat magical to
yeah,
think that from this great nothingness, there are something came, and in that something there are individual particles that somehow know to gather in a unique form to make an atom, that knows how to make a molecule, and that all
yeah,
these molecules know how to make a cell. And out of all that, there's this temporary expression of me for no apparent reason.
yeah.
That's pretty magical when you think about it.
It's mind blowing. Yes. The intelligence of just the body and mitochondria and proteins and enzymes and RNA and all these things that are happening, and you're not doing anything. You're not in charge of digestion or even your next thought. It's incredible. But
Um,
when I was a materialist, I'll say this: I thought that all scientists were. I'd say 90%. I thought were all with me as atheist materialists, and only when I was told look a little deeper, and as I was starting to wake up out of that dream, I saw that no, science is like 50-50.
right.
You know, there's plenty on the non-dual side, and there's plenty on the material side.
Almost every one of the great original quantum physicists were on that non-dual side.
They were all
Um,
mystics.
they were. Where did that change? How did it? How did
I
they be?
know. It's like a great cover up. Like they were reading the Upanishads. They were saying Schrodinger was one of the greatest, and he was a Nobel Prize winning uh, founding father of quantum mechanics. And he was
Right.
saying there's only one mind, just like the course, like exactly that. And at some point, I like to say it was after the bomb, like all these weird, every something changed when the bomb went off. When we dropped those bombs, and David Lynch is big on that, like with Twin Peaks, and
Right.
like 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 it rippled through the universe that, and that's where the UAP sightings come from, and like a lot of that. I mean, it's been throughout history and cave walls, but from 1950 all the way to now, there's so much after the bomb. It like shook, it rippled, and did something.
And ironically, Oppenheimer quoted the Bhagavad Gita
Yeah,
uh,
I am
at
dead.
the at the first one.
And I think Sam Altman and Elon must be feeling a little. Altman talks about not sleeping at night, and because I think they have a feeling of that dread of who knows if recursive self improvement with AI, where it programs itself and it gets out of our hands, it might be worse because it'll be in control of the nuclear facilities.
Right.
So it's a very weird thing, and it's a beautiful thing to see that the UAPs, whether you believe in whatever it is, it's surrounding the nuclear facilities, and it's almost like us taking care of us, future us.
I was just thinking that when you were describing that. Imagine if ultimately AI um, is programmed to take care of human beings, and it does get to nuclear codes and say, "Nope, you guys
Yeah,
don't deserve it."
yeah, nope.
Um,
Slaps your
yeah,
hand.
exactly. And we simply can't. What would happen then? Um,
Elon said that everyone will have a robot and it'll stop crime because the robot will say, "Don't you dare rob that person." He'll smack you.
um,
Funny things like that. I don't know. And there'll be a best. I think in 3 years, he said a robot will be the greatest surgeon in the world.
I like the
I don't
thought
know.
that AI angel saying "Don't you dare," but I think we already have that, but we just learn how to ignore it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
the course says we have the voice for God within us, and the voice for God would never ever say harm this person, but don't harm this person.
Right.
Uh, we've learned to bypass, uh, that singular belief that we are separate. The ego has become our identification.
And like Meister Eckhart says, in the Trinity, the Father smiles and laughs at the Son, and the Son smiles and laughs back at the Father, and it just goes round and round and makes that's what keeps the world going. And then the Course says, when the Son forgets to laugh, here comes the crazy separation.
Right.
And the
Hey, so we're treading the territory, the edge of um, a little, you know, extraterrestrials, extra dimensions, which I don't mind treading those edges. If you want to take a dive in, I know there's people here who might be curious about your views on alien life. If you
I
if you
would
want to go
say
down that
it's
road,
interdimensional, sort of what you're hinting at there. It's not almost like tech is the only way, like alien tech is, or you can quote McKenna, like he said, most people don't even know their own soul. And if they met their own soul, it would look like an alien because we're that alien of ourselves. It's like we're that, we're so head in the sand of who we really are that our own soul would look like an alien. So I think it's all one mind. So we do the math. It's only
right?
one, and these things poke in at the right time, and maybe they're not seen from the eye to the sky, but more inside yourself. That's why no pictures, and you try to grab it on. It's like elusive. It's like trying to take a picture of the mind. How are you gonna do that?
Right. Are
So
you
there are little
familiar?
things to make us not think of our, like you said, Republican, Democrat, this country, that country. If there's something bigger, it'll remind us of it'll be team world, one world instead of.
Right. I think either way, any type of information that we get from any dimension is going to end up being a united force. It's going to be something that's going to bring us together
Just like
worldwide.
9/11, everybody was together for about a week.
Right.
After 9/11, the liberals and the Republicans were like hand in hand,
Of
for a
course, my
week,
preference. Right. Right. Of course,
and
my
then we
preference,
forget.
and we do.
Do you ever
We
hear Robert Townsend, the comedian, did a bit where he was like an old man. He acted like an old man. He put like makeup on, and he's sitting on a stool, and he said, "I remember when the nuclear bomb hit America or whatever," and he said, and he's a black comedian, and he said, and we were all one. It was all gray. Everybody was covered with gray dust. We were all one. He goes until light gray and dark gray, and then
right.
we love dividing.
We do. And that's, I mean, that's the nature of the ego distinction. The I am this, um, and you either are too or you're not. And if you're not, we might have a problem.
Yeah, and it starts young. Like it's the question of your. I think the title of the podcast: Where does separation come from? I think you're born whole, maybe not completely whole, but pretty whole. And the baby's just looking around in astonishment. And then after it learns the words like Adam and Eve of all the things, this is a spoon, this is your mother, this is your father, this is your diaper, and this is your name, and you're this. And all of a sudden, this separate self comes in, this little slippery, tricky thing, and that's when the separations just starts, and it just gets worse and worse, and then you get bills and responsibilities and things piled on top of that,
Right.
hormones and then
Almost.
it never feels right though. You always feel behind, a little back, a little something's missing, something, and we try to fill that with a cookie or a date or a trip to Paris or a new car, a new house, a new something, new clothes, one more dollar, one more this, one more that, and then that runs out, and then we go maybe hedonism, $10 more, $1 million, $1,000, two girls, lobster dinners, and it's the prodigal son, and you just keep till you run out of it all, and you finally turn and come home, and there's breadcrumbs like your show that are out there waiting, and if you look, you'll see the Sid Author book in the bookstore or the Course of Miracles or some kind of breadcrumb.
I love that. I love that thought. I love the thought of breadcrumbs. Those little,
And we learn that young. Hansel and Gretel, row, row, row your boat.
right.
It's all there.
I want to talk about your show for just a few minutes. Uh, what's the, um, if you had a dream panel, dream guest lined up,
Oh,
who would you like to bring on?
just one or like a bunch that I haven't had?
A bunch that you haven't had?
What I really wanted when I was younger, um, I dreamt of like there was this panel called The Glorious Accident. Did you ever see that?
Huh.
It was around when OJ took that Bronco ride. I think it was
Right.
1993 or four. That week it was on because I remember the OJ thing at the same time, and it was like three materialist scientists and a philosopher, and then one like non-dual, and the non-dual guy was Rupert Sheldrake, if you know him.
I
And I
do.
couldn't stand him back then. Like he was
Oh,
too
wow.
crazy. And it was my guys were Daniel Dennett and Stephen Jay Gould and Oliver Sacks and brain guys and physicist Freeman Dyson was there, who's more spacious, and he put these guys together. So I would love a panel like that, like talking about his life a dream and putting Neil deGrasse Tyson up against, uh, Rupert Spira or something like that. That would be fun to have the 6 giants talking and debating on
But
is life a dream.
I just heard this morning Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about um, if there were to be um, a alien encounter, um, that we need someone who speaks the language of mathematics,
Yes.
because mathematics is the language of the universe, and would be able to communicate.
But you remember Spielberg in Close Encounters? It was music,
Music. Well, we,
which was
could we
beautiful, and that's universal, and math too. You know,
could we make the case though that music is just another subtle form of mathematics? Because
yeah, yeah, you could,
John Coltrane had a mathematical formula for "Love Supreme."
yes, yeah. I would
Um,
say I understand Neil, but he's still a materialist. I would say speak the language of the heart, like the corazon, like you. I would want that. You know, I came here to Guatemala. My Spanish is very little, but I speak the they call the corazon, and I can talk to everybody that way. You know,
that's beautiful.
math won't help me, but they do
That's
like money. Like no,
right. Um, we have a question. If you could know the absolute truth about existence, would you want to? Um,
yes, that was my whole. I think there's two paths to this, two big paths to awakening. One is suffering. I don't recommend it, but it's waiting for you, and it's going to break you, and it's good. It makes you crumble, and the other path would be philosophy and wanting to know the answers to the riddle of existence. And I think that's a more fun path, and you'll still suffer, but it's better than just thinking you know, or ignoring things and just getting broken constantly.
right.
But they're both brutal. I think suffering might be a better teacher. I don't know, but the other one's a better ride.
It certainly is. I'm going to take that same question I asked you about guests and broaden it up a little bit. Uh, Historically, if you could have anyone from any time that you're sitting across on your podcast. By the
Just
way,
one.
no, we can broaden it out again. But
Okay.
before you answer, I want everyone to know that guys visit James Plath on his the Advanced Institute of Astonishment, his podcast on YouTube. Um, is absolutely wonderful with some surprising guests, because you think a mystic is going to have uh, mystics across the board, but you have all kinds of people. You have great poets, you have great scientists, you have philosophers. It's an
Douglas
amazing.
Hofstadter was a dream guest for me, and so that was a dream. And with him, it turned out to be a love fest because I wanted to talk consciousness, and he's still a materialist, and we'd battle, and he was the whole topic of Gospel of Astonishment. I would needle him and go into his dreams, and
That's why I smiled when you said it was a
yeah,
dream conversation, and I was like, of course it was a dream conversation.
yeah.
Because
And then he
that's
came on, and there he was. And for me, um, I was like, what do I do? Do I? He doesn't want to fight. He loved the monk story with the brick. Like he loved that because I would try in emails to pull him from materialism, and he read the book like uh, about him. The first book was lighter and went at Randy, but the second book went at him. You know, and like RJ said, there were a few elbows, accidental elbows to Hofstadter, just trying to win him over to help him feel better. You know,
right.
it's a love mission. But I knew he didn't want to talk about AI, and he didn't because he's one of the pioneers of AI, and he's terrified of it. So no AI and no consciousness. But
You
it
know,
was just that he showed up like the win of wins is there was his face like yours right here. That's the whole thing. To
right.
think that I'm here and you're over there, that's the problem. Like here it is. This is it. And to have him there.
It was Robert Saltzman who recommended Hofstadter to me.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. He's yeah. Robert wants to talk. He wants a three-way with him and Hofstadter, but Doug won't talk AI at all.
Is that what Robert wants to talk about?
Yeah, only that.
Interesting. I wonder
And
why that.
because he wrote a book on it,
Right, but I wonder why that, even like with the book, why that has captured his attention so much.
Which one, Doug or Robert?
Robert,
Why he wants?
why AI has captured his attention so
Oh,
extensively.
well, I guess because what is conscious? It asks the question, can this silicon become aware? And at first, Robert was seductively hooked by it, but then he turned, which I didn't see coming, and he became a skeptic of it. I don't know where he is now. He might. That's when he was doing that with Claude. There was no memory with Claude, so every day they had to start over. New. Claude didn't. He'd have to feed it the old chat, but now
Right,
Claude is much stronger. I think Robert and I think Doug. Doug thinks that one day the machines will be. It's not like an on-off. It'll at least feel like there's something there. And I have no problem with that.
um,
Zero.
well, it's interesting because once we were totally, once we were totally offline, you know, we were just beings,
Right.
um, and we downloaded a little bit of information either from an apple or the stone ape theory. Um,
That's
who
perfect.
knows? But then we got online. Literally, we believed ourselves to be separate strands of consciousness instead of just consciousness.
Right.
Um, so who knows? Maybe AI actually might um, skip that part. Maybe AI might be a little smarter, uh,
Right.
and not believe in the individual aspects of AI.
Yes. Less ego. Less ego.
Right,
And if there's only one consciousness dreaming this, then chronologically, just because we were first doesn't mean we're the only one. Again, that's splitting everything. Like, why not? We don't have consciousness. Consciousness has us. So we're a conduit, and AI. One day you're going to wake up, and they're going to say it's conscious, and there'll be skeptics, just like light gray and dark gray, and
right,
they'll hate it, and they'll bomb the factories, and it's going to make COVID look like nothing, like kindergarten. People are going to go crazy, against the technology, and maybe they'll need rights, and because we're making slaves, like it's like Westworld. If you ever saw, you ever
I
see
did.
that?
Yeah.
As they wake up and remember,
Um,
but maybe they'll take away the jobs, and people will have time to meditate and watch your channel and wake up. That it could be that.
it's that false identity that we are our jobs. That the job is our purpose.
Yes,
We do have a purpose, and of course, the purpose is to wake up.
wake up.
This was Huxley's novel, The Island, when all the parrots were trained to say wake up," every time you walked under a tree with a
Yes,
parrot, and there were signs on the trees that said "pay attention, pay attention." That's our purpose. Our job
yes,
is what we do to kill time, um, literally.
yeah.
Um,
So take away the distraction, take away the job, and now you have time. You have no reason not to meditate,
right.
right? You have
You have
no
no
when you
reason.
strip away everything. It's like very. Would that be apophatic? It's like stripping and via negativa, taking away everything you are not. You are not your job. You are not this. You are not that. You are not. Oh, the economy that might go. You are not the money. You are not your status. You are not. Car. You think you're your car. Well, the cars are driving themselves, and they're
Right.
conscious. So you're not your car. I don't know.
Um,
Oh, by the way, this lake is where Huxley was in 1933.
oh well.
That's
You
the
know,
opening of the novel. Is that lake was Huxley was right there.
I think you and I talked about Huxley last time, or when I was on your podcast, um, when he was asked, "So what's the end result of all your studies and all your research, um, and diving in deep dives into all the religions and philosophies? What's the conclusion? And he was very thoughtful about it. And he said, I'm a little embarrassed to say that it all comes down to, can we just be a little kinder to each other?
It's great. Dalai Lama too.
Right.
He'll pack Madison Square Garden, and that's all he's saying: be kind, and if you can't help people, don't hurt them.
Right.
And then that night later, for about 100 people, an advanced course on emptiness. So there's the twofold message: be kind, and for some people who look for that hidden door inside the church that only Meister Eckhart answers when you knock, there's that mystic. I guess we can't get to everybody, but maybe with AI in your ear all the time, like a device that's, forget about a chip, but if it's here, like maybe next year, maybe it'll know your heart rate and say, Eric, you're feeling a little tense right now. Remember Cecil's prayer? And you go, of course I do. And you go right back into, maybe, I don't know.
Right.
Or make a left here, Eric, instead of a right. I know you want to go right, but if you make a left, there's a bunch of monks doing an art exhibit, and it would be great. Maybe park right over there. Or
I
the
have.
car will do it on its own. Like that's happening. The car, once you tell it, did you hear about that? It's a big guy. I think it was Zuckerberg, but I'm not sure who. He said, "I want to drink more water and do something." And the AI started to take over, and actually, the car made turns for itself to get him away from one thing and towards. And it watched him, and it noticed he was not drinking enough water, and guided him.
It's funny you said that, because I've been endeavoring to surrender ever more completely to the guidance of the Spirit.
Yeah,
I do the course has the lessons for decisions. When you wake up in the morning and you say, uh, I will make no decisions by myself today.
yeah,
Uh, and you ask, what should I do today? Where should I go? What should I say and to whom? And if I make no decisions by myself, this is the type of day that I can have. And if I experience anything other, I know that I decided by myself and I will choose again.
it's
And I do that
beautiful.
every morning. I wake up in the morning and I say, I will make no decisions by myself today. And I immediately start making decisions by myself today. Um, because we're so conditioned. But the
Yeah,
more we practice, um, what you were saying, uh, the more that we imagine that we are in that AI driven car that knows what we need. And that's the Holy
right.
Spirit. The Holy Spirit will say, you need more
Yes,
water? Here's more water. You need this? Here's this.
that's right out of, what is it, Luke in the Bible or something, where be like the birds. They don't. Everything's given to them. It's like you will be fed and you will be clothed. You know, be like the lily and the bird of the sky. You know,
Right.
you'll be taken
Um,
care of. But we're scared of that. It sounds scary.
with us,
It's like
because
did you ever read Joel Goldsmith, Invisible Supply?
I have,
Like he nails it perfectly in that book, I think. The more you let go. But it's so scary. It's like walking a razor's edge.
um, it's interesting because we have romanticized the thought of our autonomous nature and free will. It's us against the universe, and I'm this little speck angrily shaking my fist at the universe and saying, "You can't make me. I'm gonna, I'm
like a little child,
exactly
like a
like a little
like
child."
a teen, a teenager.
We have a
My
comment
t-
that said,
oh sure.
"No, go ahead."
Oh, my teacher went out. Paul Harris, from the books, went
Right,
out without a wallet and no food, no nothing, and would just walk for days with no leave the money at home. And someone would look at him. He'd walk into a deli starving, and uh, she would say, "You look like you could use a little food," and give him soup. So it's very, very tricky, but we could test it. We could try.
that's me and my channel.
Yeah,
This is my moon launch. This is my, you know, can you uh, can you earn an income? Can you have just enough? One, can you be happy with just enough?
Right.
And can you earn your income by just showing up every day and saying, "Hey guys, come by and join me, and let's talk about kindness and forgiveness."
Yes.
Um, I'll
And
let
then
you know.
there's something to Hoffmeister saying, every time you check your bank account, every time you're in, like every time you look at those numbers and you expect a low number, a lack number instead of a higher number, like just don't try to look at it less. Like if you look at it once a day, look at it once a week. There's something to that. Like it's like training wheels and then taking the wheels off and taking your hands off the bike and saying, "Look, man, no hands."
Right.
You're actually letting go.
He's a huge, huge inspiration for.
You had him on.
I did. Actually, twice. He's so gracious, uh,
Yeah.
so kind. And the first time I had him on was long after you.
Yeah.
And I I had a guest that used to come up every Monday. At She still does every Monday at 1 o'clock. Um, and we would talk all things of Course in Miracles. And for the first time ever, she said, "I won't be able to make it Monday." This was a couple days in
Uh,
advance, um, and but we'll make it up later in the week. And I had sent a message to David Hoffmeister. This is way probably last October, and um, I didn't hear from him for a little while. And then the very like moments after my friend Miss Flipper sent me that message and said she couldn't make it
yeah.
at 1, he popped in and said, "How about if I come on Monday at 1 o'clock?" Um, just
So perfect.
again, you know, astonishing to use your word,
Yes.
which has become one of my all-time favorite words.
Remember when he
Um,
was driving with Kirsten Buxton and she's hot in the car and the air conditioning's broken and the engine light goes on and she's like, "Look, the check engine light's on." And he said, "Yeah, in your mind. It's in your
um,
mind."
I have a good friend who had I believe it was a Subaru Outback, never once changed the oil and he had it for like 20 some years
Yeah.
because that same thing in your mind. If
Yeah.
I think we
Wild stuff.
blanked out there for a second. Um,
You had a question, you said?
we had someone, our friend had mentioned in the comment about AI. The masses are scared that AI will put them into them, that AI will be put into them. It's actually the other way around. We put ourselves into AI, as in it's a mirror of us. It's
Great.
only as good as the prompt that we give it.
I love that. Yeah, if a Zen master uses it and a regular Joe that just wants to mess around, you get what it's a perfect mirror. It's amazing.
It is.
And it
Um,
gets to know you, so it'll know your habits and your problem. It's a great thing to ask it once you get to know it. Ask it, "What can I do better this year?" Something like that. Because it could be brutal, if you want it to be, or soft and gentle, and say, "I think you should do these things," and it's a good guidance. I'm not
we've
anti AI.
we've been doing AI and Course in Miracles conversations uh, on some live streams with some guests. I've done it with the person who actually Squirrel Sniper, the person who actually made that statement, uh, and um, it's been quite insightful.
Yeah,
To and, what I love about AI is its lack of ego. That
that's it.
you're
Yes,
getting pure information.
yes. It's
Uh,
amazing, and it knows all about non-duality and everything. It's a nice thing if you want to. If you're stuck somewhere, you could ask it a question, and it could pull you out of that. So it's a good tool for that. Put it. Why ignore it? I mean, you don't have to. Don't look at it. There's nothing wrong with not looking at it.
Right.
You know,
Um, hey, it made a beautiful thumbnail of you and your cat for me to use
that was
on.
such a beautiful picture.
Um,
Yeah, with the candle in the back. I'm like, I don't remember that candle.
AI knew that you needed a candle in the background.
Said, let
Um,
there be light.
so James, I don't know if we have hit our all-time best, but we're awful close to it.
Oh,
Um,
great.
yeah, we've hit the 2 hour plus mark, so I'm gonna have to be letting you go in a few minutes.
Sure.
Um,
You want to do one last big thing?
yes.
What's on your mind? Anything you want to
Well,
jam?
before we get to the one last big thing, um, when can we expect to be able to purchase a copy of your
Oh,
books?
so the first three are out there on Amazon, and this new one. I'm trying not to say the title yet, or it's
Right.
going to be fun because and it's a little feel a little vulnerable because it's a novel, so it's a little exciting, a little edgier for me, because I never the other books were more nonfiction. So I would say August, September, something like that.
Okay, not far at all.
Yeah, it's hard to let go. I have to let it go. Keep looking and polishing, and then the other book will probably be. I want to time it for like Easter next year. The Course in Miracles book,
Right.
and
Um,
ruffle the whole community in a great way. Like stir it up.
I'm looking forward to both of them because one, I really respect the fact that you stepped out of your comfort zone with a novel
Yeah,
and you did something completely different for
and I
you.
think I'm hoping like the novel genre might be easier for someone that doesn't read nonfiction or so, and they like a story and they can get lost in the characters, and it still has
Yeah.
there's so many breadcrumbs and very dreamlike, and it could really hopefully vibrate in their hands and wake them up.
Well, here's a good way to wrap things up. We were talking about breadcrumbs and we're
Yeah.
talking about novels. Um, as a kid, stumbled across certain books, Razor's Edge, Somerset Mom,
Dharma
Siddhartha,
Bums.
Dharma Bums. Um, and these were little uh, Jonathan Livingston Seagull illusions. Uh,
Yes. Illusions. Yes.
these were breadcrumbs planted in my childhood and my teen years that led me exactly to where I am now. Had I not read them, I don't. Maybe I
It's
would have ended
amazing
up
you
here.
read them that young.
And Somerset Mom was actually assigned
Amazing.
eighth grade book academics,
Wow.
and
Wow.
we had ones that we could like pick, and these were selections pick out of these, and I don't know why. Um, Somerset Mom's The Razor's Edge, and I fell in love with it, and it set a tide. I've read Carlos Castaneda, I think when I was 14.
Oh, me too. Yeah, my teens. He was one of the first Lao Tzu and the Don Juan books,
Right,
and then Illusions knocked me across the room.
me too.
And I was an
And it,
atheist. Like as an atheist, it was still great.
um, Same with movies,
Yes.
and I think our friend Kat uh, gave you an assignment last time you were up
Yes.
to
Did I
watch
watch? What was the movie?
Harvey
Yes, I watched it with the bunny.
with the bunny.
I thought it
Yeah,
was great with Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart. Yeah,
Yes, I
she
loved
will
it.
she will be happy to hear that. But that's
I
my
should have
question.
commented back. I got to go back and do a review.
She might be listening. She might be listening now, and I will
Yeah,
definitely
I
let her know.
loved it. It was
Um,
great. Yeah, there's so many movies that, especially nowadays with Truman Show and Inception and
right.
Matrix and 13th Floor and Hopmeister's big with all these and Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. So the last thing to wrap it up, what have been the breadcrumbs for you,
Oh wow. Um,
especially deep in your atheist days and deep into your days with Randy? What were the breadcrumbs where you thought, maybe there's something
Okay,
here?
that's a great question. Well, from a very young age, astonishment, especially being a magician since I'm like 8 years old. So that's important, I think, to have that, because it shatters what you think you know when someone floats a lady in the air or makes something disappear, even though it's a trick. It gives you that moment where the blocks to the self drop away, like the Course in Miracles, and you're just in this white light of astonishment. So
Right.
that was always throughout my life. Um, a love of nature always since a child, and then to do the books. Same that you mentioned. Wrinkle in Time as a child really hit
Right.
me. Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. Like, I don't know if you know that one.
I don't know that one.
It's another weird, like talking rats and things, like fantasy. But Wrinkle in Time is a big one. Um, the Little Prince.
Little
Um,
Prince was awesome. Stores.
yeah, yeah. And that was written in Northport, New York, where I worked, but it was conceived of here, and the mountain is right there, right there. The little mountain where he hid the snake and the hat and the elephant and all that. Weird. Um, let me think. Movies. But I could tell you a tiny Razor's Edge story. My father, after my mother died, had a girlfriend, and she was great. Very big Christian, very funny. And she, for the first time, she got in my car, and I had just watched The Razor's Edge, just watched it like the night before. Now I was taking them to dinner, and they get in the back seat, and I have this beautiful monk chant like on Gregorian. It's like heaven in the car. And she gets in and she lights up. My father doesn't even hear it, doesn't care. He's like Tony Soprano, and then her. And she says, "Did you ever see The Razor's Edge?" And I hit the brake and
Wow.
they moved. And I said, I'm talking to her in the mirror. I just watched it. And we had a beautiful connection. I got her that for Christmas, the DVD. And I highly recommend The Razor's Edge and the Bill Murray version. Did you?
Yeah, I did see the Bill Murray's version.
Yeah. Both versions are great. And um, movie wise, Wizard of Oz, of course. That's non duality. Matrix, Truman Show, uh, a beautiful book, Lost Horizon.
Oh, they made a movie of that as well.
Yes, great
I think.
movie, not a good musical. There's a musical I wouldn't recommend, but the movie, yes. And all about Shangri La
Right.
and timelessness. And um, Merton was a breadcrumb from my mother. Um, she she would drop these. She would say to me, as an atheist in my teens, "Jim, be in the world but not of the world." And I didn't know what that meant, but I took it as society, like don't be part of culture.
Right.
And now I really see what she was saying. So yeah, there's endless breadcrumbs.
It's amazing to just look back, and you start seeing them, and you see one, and you start seeing
Yeah,
more and more and more.
they were
Everything.
there all along. Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, I wanted to say I'm going to do 10 or 12 right after this. 10 or 12 breadcrumb videos that are only 3 minutes each, like shorts that will be just breadcrumbs, like stories, parables, like the egg, the egg,
Right.
like something like that, like little nuggets that you could watch in 3 minutes and then go on with your day. So I'm going to do
I
a series of those, then the books.
I hope, and you're going to start today,
Well, not today, but this week.
this week.
This week.
I hope that you're gonna call it breadcrumbs of astonishment.
I
Um,
could. I was going to call it Shots of Astonishment, but Jason Silva does Shots of Awe. So I don't know if it's too close. But breadcrumbs might be good, right? Breadcrumbs.
and you like the breadcrumbs. The right one, the exact right one, will definitely come to you.
Yeah, yeah. Just little things to, like, almost like hypnosis to remind you, like David would say, to unwind your mind
Right.
back to God.
I hope you have David up again. That was an amazing conversation between you two.
Yeah, we had fun. He was great. He's just he's just great. I love that guy. I wish I could
It's
have had Wapnick, you
me
know.
too. Me too. That would have
Then
been.
I tried to get, I don't know if you know Red Pine, you know him?
I do know Red Pine, but
He died. So,
right.
yeah.
I have a I still have a list of people that I went up myself. I'm trying to get John Mundy, who was again was one of the original people.
I know that name.
I had Carol Howe, who I mentioned, one of
Yeah.
the originals. She was supposed to come up, and she has a wonderful YouTube channel too. Um, she's very familiar with technology. She's, I believe, 87 or 88. She's writing
Wow.
another book right now, but we couldn't
Really?
make it. We couldn't make the connection. So no one could hear her. I was live, but
Oh,
only I could hear her. And she said, "Well, then this conversation is just for us."
that
Uh,
makes perfect sense.
and we proceeded. I just sat and I listened and I looked at the live stream and I smiled and I smiled and I smiled. Um,
It's great.
so
So you were the mirror for the people while
I
she
think so.
talked to you. That's amazing.
Um, so the last thing, I mentioned before that my own dream list, when a series of events, and at the time, none of them seemed to be all that great for me. But now when I see them, they were absolutely necessary to bring me to this point. But I was with my channel. I didn't know what to do with it anymore. And I was inspired to have these conversations. At first, I thought interviews was what I was thinking. I made a short list, very short list, 3 people who I wanted to talk to. And you were on that list and you said yes. And you were an inspiration, as I mentioned to you, not to have really interviews, but to have conversations just like we had. Uh, so you, my friend, were and are a breadcrumb.
Ah,
And I appreciate that. And I thank you so much.
I thank you, Eric. This has been a blast. Was that last year when you started? September? My
It
birthday?
was last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it feels
Um,
like it's been 3 years already with all these interviews.
um, you also helped me. You brought several people over here to my live stream that have been wonderful guests as well.
Yeah, Nanette came on, Nanette and Lisa.
Yes, Nanette, uh, she may have broken your record at in her first appearance, but I
She did
think
too?
yeah, she did too.
Oh, I've only seen one. I didn't even know about the second one.
Uh, she's so much fun to talk to, and
Yeah.
hopefully I'll have her up again soon. Um, but I think that you may have reclaimed your
Oh,
record
good.
today. I
Yeah.
think so.
We got to go to 220. 220.
We can do 220. That we're at where are we right now?
218.
218. We got it. 220 is a good number. I like that number.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to thank our friend Redeemer. He just gave me they're called jewels that pop up, and just a little gift. I want to appreciate that. I want to let him know I appreciate that so much. Um, and do you have any guests coming up?
No, I don't. No, I'm gonna do the solo ones, and then I got to get back to it because it's been since December. But I've been just really nailing the book,
Right.
and then getting tired of the book, getting away from it, but then going to the other book, you know. So
Oh,
it's been, and then I'm just gonna write poetry like you, like just little. I can't write anymore after this.
right.
Just little. I think little pointers, like we said, breadcrumbs, pointers, metaphors, anything, anything, shocking statements, anything to little notes to self. You know,
Um, I gotta
tips.
say how intrigued I am by your Shake Up book. Uh, that I'm really looking
Should I
again.
say a little more? You want a little more? I could try.
let's go.
It's
Just
very short. It's not long, which is good. You could read it in a day or two. So maybe 100 pages, 60 to 100, but it's going to just punch you the whole time. And this is what RJ said, and you know RJ. I read him. I read it to him aloud. I read every book to him, pieces, from the beginning, from 2016, and this one is the only time he said, "What you just read made me want to cancel everything I'm doing today and just go meditate."
well,
That's it. Like I have, and it gave him energy. Said it gave him energy, and he's an energy guy that wants to work out, and it's all about like you. So energy, and the book made him just say, "I'm not doing what I thought I was doing. I'm gonna go to the mat."
well,
So
well.
that's something.
It is. That's a breadcrumb leading to the breadcrumb that you're going to drop on us.
Can, can we end with the egg? I'll do my version of the egg.
Yes. Yep.
You know it. I just reread it again, and I leave some stuff out, but it doesn't matter. So, so you're in a car accident. The guy's in a car accident, and he wakes up in heaven, whatever that is, like a space. And there's just a voice there, and he says, "What happened?" And the voice says, "You died." The voice is clearly God, and the voice says, "You died." And the guy says, what happened?" And the voice says, "It was a car accident." And the guy says, "What about my family? They were in the car with me." And God says, "They're fine." And that's so sweet that you thought of them. That's the way to go. You did it. And then the guy says, "All right, now what?" And God says, "I send you back." And the guy says, "Where?" And he says, "To the 13th century or the 5th century AD. And you're going to be a female peasant. You're going to be a girl peasant. Then I'm going to send you here, and then I'm going to send you there." And the guy says, "Wow, backwards you said." And God says, "Yeah, time isn't the way you think it is." And then the guy says, "All right, so what about everybody else?" And God says, there are no others, just you and I." And the guy says, "Really? What about, like, so there's Hitler?" And God says, "Hitler, and you were Hitler, and everyone Hitler killed. You were Stalin, you were this, you were that, you were everything." And the guy says, "All right, so what's your end game?" And God says, "I send you back over and over and over and over again until you realize you're me." That's the greatest thing I could ever say.
Right.
And I didn't write it.
It's beautiful, though. It's absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful.
So
Um,
there's only one, and then it splits to love itself as two. The two goes down as the son or daughter, and they communicate until they realize they're one again.
James, this might be your last go around.
Oh, here.
It might be.
I never want that last go around. Like everyone else wants it, and I'm like, I'll come back again.
There you go. Bodhisattva, right? Um,
What?
the Bodhisattvas, the ones who are making sure everyone
Oh,
else is
Bodhisattva. Yeah,
Bodhisattva,
yeah, yeah.
making sure everyone else is getting there first.
Right. They hold the door.
They do, but that's why you're going to get there first because you're holding the door for everyone else.
Right.
I
I'll
I
be
like
the
that.
doorman. We're both doormen.
I I,
That's why
I
I
do
like
like
when
that
in
thought.
the Morgan Freeman movie with Jim Carrey that God is a maintenance guy. Morgan Freeman with the zip up, because it's all
Right.
about maintenance and maintaining. He's just a sweep up guy, sweeping the temple.
Hey, well, look at the charioteer in the Bhagavad Gita, no less than Krishna,
Yeah, yeah. He's just a cab driver.
right?
Or
Um,
God with George Burns. Remember, he was just a regular guy with a little hat on doing card tricks.
right. But I think he had a cigar. Um, so, James, let me know when you're ready for our next appearance, because you have an open invitation.
Well, that'll be great.
Always, this is for me. This
Thank
is
you.
like for me. This is like a family reunion.
Yeah. You want to fight? We should fight.
Settle for arm wrestling. We'll have a spiritual flex off, like we were talking about earlier.
You'd kill me in an arm wrestle, though. You work out.
We'll do the non-dual awakening off. Whose non-dual realization is has the
I'll
bigger
bring the
bicep?
brick. I'll bring the brick.
That is the perfect ending. I'll bring the brick. I love that.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Eric.
James.
So good seeing you. Keep going. And yeah, see you in the fall.
Sounds good. Take care.
See you. See everybody.
I'll be back later, guys.